friends. This is Money, Meaning, and Mastery, a podcast for people who want to build wealth, leverage, and purpose without burning themselves out in the process. This is your host, Wilson Raposo, and in this episode, we're going to talk about something that quietly controls your life. And of course, that is your weekends. Let me ask you something. What are your weekends actually like? Do you feel like you get to do every single thing that you want to do over your weekends? Or do you get to Sunday night and feel that pit in your stomach about Monday being the next day? You know that feeling, right? It's Sunday night, you're probably scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or have your favorite Netflix show in the background, and it suddenly hits you wait, where did my weekend go? All you remember is that you worked very hard last week, and on Friday, you told yourself, this weekend, I'm actually going to rest. Perhaps work on that side project that you've been putting aside for a while. Show up to the gym for once after a while, or spend real time with the people that you care about. And then Sunday night comes and you realize that you did none of it. You're just as tired as you were on Friday, or perhaps even more. And then there's this thing in your head telling you, wait, where did my weekend even go? This is a common feeling for the average adult, myself included, where we're just living our lives, especially on the weekends, on autopilot. We're just numbing out and letting life happen at us. And it's costing us more than what you think. But today we are going to fix that because the title of this episode isn't just a cute suggestion, it's a warning. Own your weekends or they will own you. So let's talk about why this is happening because it's not only you, it's me and everybody else. Because the way that we rest, the way we socialize, the way that we use our time of the weekends is setting a lot of us up for a crappy weekend. So we need to fix that. But let me hit you with a few things that really opened my eyes. And the first thing I want to share is that a recent survey shows that about two-thirds of adults report feeling sleepy or fatigued 3 days each week. And I can attest to this because the first time I heard this, I was like, okay, I'm one of those adults. And I know a few friends of mine are also complaining about feeling tired over the week. But when I read on more about this, is that the reports that two-thirds of adults are giving is that it's not just a little tired, but the kind of tired where we can focus, we can think clearly, and we feel completely drained. And yes, I can relate to that. This happens to me many times before I prioritize my rest. And I'll go over that in a little bit. But also, they say that when they get the time off to actually rest, they don't feel like that rest is even enough. So the rest that we actually having is not actually helping us recover. So what do? We tell ourselves on Saturday, I'm going to sleep in, I'm going to stay in bed until 11 a.m., 12 p.m. because I want to rest and recover. And the issue with that is that sleeping more on the weekend doesn't automatically help you recover because whenever you adjust or play with your sleeping pattern, you're basically changing the way you sleep, your rhythm. And if you notice when you sleep in longer than your typical day, you wake up feeling groggy and out of it. So you're not actually resting, you're not actually restored. And on top of that, something I read is that in person social time has dropped hard over the past decade, especially for younger people, so people like you and me, of course. We are spending less time hanging out with family and friends face to face than we did a decade or 2 decades ago, and spending more time with our screens, calling it rest, right? While we're being drained slowly. So if we're not really resting and we're not really socializing with our family and friends, what are we doing? We're scrolling, we're streaming, and telling ourselves that we're resting while our body and brain never actually recover or reset. No wonder why Monday feels like we've been hit by a truck every time it comes. And here's the thing, this isn't just about some abstract trend or some statistics that I'm sharing for a survey. Most of us are living this kind of weekend on autopilot without really noticing. And to give you a better picture, let me walk you through what a typical weekend usually looks like, and you tell me if this is you because I did relate to this before I realized how I was spending my weekend. So let's talk about Friday. You finish work at 5 p.m., you close your laptop, you're done, you get to your home exhausted, collapse on the couch, put your phone in hand, put Netflix in the background, order some Uber Eats or DoorDash, and it's finally the time that you start to feel like you're finally off the hook, right? So Friday nights are basically gone, right? Saturday, you catch up on your sleep. you wake up late and you feel foggy, already out of it, and you scroll on your phone, on TikTok, on Instagram for an hour and two, and then you remember that you have to get some groceries, you have to do some laundry, clean a little bit, run some errands. So you go ahead and do that. You spend most of the day before you realize that your day is already gone, right? Your day already, your Saturday has slipped away from your fingers. By night, you realize that you either have the choice of staying in and watch some Netflix, some Hulu, some HBO Max, your favorite show on TV, or you decide to go out. So you do that. And then you come home, you socialize, which is great, and just something that we need to prioritize. And then you tell yourself that even though your Saturday went away, you reassure that you at least have Sunday. On Sunday, you wake up and your mental checklists start to get over your head. You start thinking about the things that you have done, the things that you haven't done. You should go work out. You should touch on that side project. Maybe you should get ready for next week. But your energy is flat. You're already out of it, right? So you feel like kind of over it. You do a little bit of email, a little bit of chores, a little bit of scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. By early afternoon on Sunday, you start getting those Sunday scaries, which is this anxiety and low mood that we go through on Sunday afternoon because we are anxious about the work week ahead. And 80% of those actually feel this, and myself included again. And this happens approximately just before 4 p.m. So around 4 p.m., we start feeling anxious about the next week. And at that moment, most of us realize the same thing, that our weekend is basically over. You don't feel rested. You don't feel like you accomplished anything meaningful over your weekend. You just went through 48 hours on autopilot. On its own, a single weekend, it's not that bad. And sometimes we need it. We do need weekends where we do absolutely nothing, or we don't have to have a certain type of intention or manage our time with the weekends. We need that. And I have had that as well. But if you think about the bigger picture, what does a single weekend on repeat, on autopilot, weekend after weekend and after weekend, what does that mean in our lives? How much of our life are we letting slip away because we don't have control of our weekends? Let's say that if you just waste 4 hours on a Saturday, right? So let's just say the Saturday morning that you stay in bed, you scroll through TikTok or Instagram. There's 52 Saturdays a year. So 52 Saturdays times 4 hours, that is 208 hours a year. About 10 years from today, that will be 2,080 hours, or just 87 days. Over 3 decades, that's roughly 260 days, nearly 1 year of your life gone in 4 hour chunks because we're not paying attention to it. Let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's say that you value your time at $100 an hour. All right, so you spend 4 hours on Saturday doing absolutely nothing that helps you rest, absolutely nothing that brings you closer to your goals, or absolutely nothing that helps you get closer to the people that you care about. If you spend those 4 hours at $100 an hour, that is $400 worth of value that you're just wasting away. And the thing here is that the biggest cost isn't just the number itself, right? The issue here is what that time could have become. Those 4 hours could have been real recovery that leaves you calm and clear. It could have been building your skill to help you move up on your career. It could become momentum on a side project that you have had. It could have become time with the people that you care about. That kind of time compounds. So we're just not losing $400 on a Saturday. We're losing the future version of ourselves that that time could have built. There's also an identity cost. Every weekend is a vote for the kind of person that you want to become. If your pattern is to let just the weekend pass by and I'll see what just happened, right? Later, weekend after weekend, those become maybe I'm not a disciplined person. Maybe I will never make this happen. Maybe I'm too tired to build anything on the side. And then once you have that identity, once you feel like that about yourselves because you're not accomplishing something meaningful in your life, then your actions will start to follow and you actually get nothing done. So it's not just a weekend, it's also your life on repeat. The good news is that you don't need a perfect system or a hustle mentality for your weekends. You just need to be a little bit more intentional and provide some structure for how your weekends should go. The same way, the same kind of structure or similar structure to how we have our work week, and see how much we can get done over the weekend. You can put into practice as soon as this coming weekend. And I've been testing myself for a couple of weeks. I have been feeling more rested and more in control of my time. And that's why I'm excited to share with you. That's why I made an episode of this because we want to own our weekends. So here it is. What we do is that before the weekend gets here, we think of all of our weekends as three intentional blocks, three non negotiables of things that you care about. And these blocks are three blocks, and one of them is a rest block. The rest block is essentially a block where you genuinely recharge. Okay. The next one is a progress block. The progress block is a block where you move your life or career forward. Okay. And then a connection block to invest in the people and the experiences that matter to you. The idea is that you don't script every hour of your weekend. The idea is that you add some sort of intention and structure to your weekend. We're not here preaching hustle culture. That's not what we're here for. We're not asking you to get to your weekend and just work and work more to get your life ahead, to get more rested. No, we're just adding some intention to how we spend our weekends because our weekends is the only time of our week that we have full control on. So here's how we turn those three blocks into something real and not just idea. You can implement it any way you want. The idea is you have those three blocks that you have to accomplish every weekend, and you can implement it in any way you want over the weekend. If you have 48 hours on your weekend, you can schedule it in any way, shape, or form. But what I'm going to share is the way I've been doing it, and I've been doing this in a few steps, and I feel like you might find this useful. So the first step I'm going to go over is that on Fridays, before you close your laptop, or let's say right after you close your work laptop, you're done with work, you spend 15 minutes doing a Friday reset. And you're going to ask yourself three questions to plan your weekend blocks ahead. So the first question is, what would make this weekend truly restful? So this will be your rest block. Your second question is, what is one meaningful thing I can make progress on? This will be your progress block. Who or what do I want to be fully present with? And this will be your connection block. And from those ideas or answers to your questions, you're going to choose one rest block, one progress block, and one connection block. Not a massive list or to-do list that you're going to have on your weekend. Just three things that you're going to be intentional about for the coming weekend. The first step is about clarity. Once you know what actually matters, then we're going to decide in the next step, second step, is how we're going to fit those blocks in our weekends. And the way I do it is I can choose either Sunday morning or Saturday morning and decide for a 2 to 3 hour window. So a portion of my Saturday, and I'm going to give priority to the block that matters the most. If I had a very hard week, I feel like I need some recharge, I need some rest, then I can prioritize my rest block as the first block that I'm going to accomplish on Saturday morning or whatever that window is. And the idea is that you want to prioritize the block that you need the most. If you want to recharge, your goal is to give attention to that block so that once you complete that block, then you feel energized to go ahead and complete the second and third block. If you're exhausted, you can choose your rest block in that 2 to 3 hour window. Go out for a slow walk. You can go to a yoga class or meditate, read a book or journal, whatever brings you rest, whatever helps you recharge. This is what we want to do in this window. If you feel energized when the weekend comes and you feel excited to build something or create something, then this will be your progress block. You can read a book. You can try to learn a skill, watch a tutorial on how to do something that you've been putting aside for a while. Anything that brings you 1% closer in your career or your life. If you want to shop to the gym after a while, this is your opportunity to do so in this 2 to 3 hour window, and so forth. So you get the idea. If you feel like you need a connection block prioritized, then you can do the same thing in that 2 to 3 hour window that we're going to choose on Saturday or Sunday. Once you kick off your weekend with one of those blocks prioritized, then the idea is that you fit the second and third block in the rest of the time that you have that weekend. The idea is that we have those three blocks and we have to accomplish those three things, those three non-negotiable things that we want to accomplish that weekend. It doesn't matter how you fit on your calendar. What matters is that you get them done. By this point, your weekend will have a skeleton, one rest block to fully recharge, one progress block to build yourself up and bring your life and your career 1% closer to where you want to be, and one connection block after you spend time with your people, the people that you care about, real connection. That's what we're talking about here. At the end of the day, the weekend isn't just 2 days. It's about how we feel going into the next work week. Do you feel like you're taking care of all your personal wants and needs? And do you feel that you are ready to go into the work week with ease? That's a goal here, okay? Now, even if you protect your weekend with your rest, your progress, and your connection block, there's still one thing that I want to talk about. And it's something that if you don't pay attention to it, it will take up all of your weekend time. And of course, I'm talking about your chores and errands. These things that we do on the weekends because we have the time for cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the kitchen, doing grocery shopping, meal prepping, anything that you put aside towards the weekend is falls into this bucket. And if you realize if we don't pay attention to them and how much time we spend doing them, it will literally take the entire weekend doing so. And I've been there because grocery shopping, you have to drive to the supermarket, buy, come back, put it aside. That's already half of a Saturday. And what we want to do here is that we want to limit how much time we spend on those chores and errands so that you have more time to enjoy your life, to complete all of the blocks that we just talked about. So what I typically been doing is that if I am going to do some chores and errands, I set a timer, 90 minutes on Saturday, 60 minutes on Sundays. I put the timer up and then try to accomplish as much as I can, as much as I reasonably can over that set of time. When the alarm goes off, then I immediately stop. And obviously, this might be difficult if you have a family, if you have other people to take care of. You might not be able to accomplish whatever you can in 90 minutes or 60 minutes on a Sunday. But the idea is that you put time into what those chores and errands would take out of your weekend. If that means you're going to take 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever that is, you're going to put a timer to that so that you have time for yourself to take care of yourself to accomplish the other three blocks: your rest, your progress, and your connection blocks. So the idea is that structure your weekend with the blocks, but also set a timer for the things that do not really matter but are still needed and prevent them from taking over your weekend. So that's basically it. That's how we're going to own our weekends. There's 3 blocks and 4 steps. So those 3 blocks: rest, progress, and connection blocks. And the 4 steps are: on Friday, we're going to choose the 3 blocks that we need to fully recover and rest, and make progress in our careers and lives, and bring ourselves closer to the people that we care about. Then, second step, we're going to prioritize the block that needs the most time, the block that needs to be prioritized. This will be on Saturday morning or Sunday morning. Third step, we're going to accomplish the other 2 blocks because remember, we're choosing 3 non-negotiable things that we have to accomplish that week. And in the fourth step is set a time limit for the chores and errands that take over the weekends. This is exactly how we're going to own our weekends before they own us. And remember, what we want here is not a perfect weekend. What we want is a weekend where we have full control of and that we are intentional about so that life doesn't happen at us. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope that you share with a friend that could benefit from what I'm sharing this episode to be more intentional with their time with the weekends. If you're on social media, TikTok and Instagram, I'm growing both of those accounts. So feel free to follow me at yes.wilson. I'll leave it right here in the screen, probably, or this side. And if you are on social media and you feel empowered enough to share how you're going to own your weekend, your next weekend, what it's one thing you're going to change your next weekend, feel free to share and tag me as well. That is it for this episode. I hope you subscribe to this podcast and I'll see you around.